Redditors that unexpectedly got a finger up the ass during sex. What was your initial thoughts? I was distracted with my face down in the pillow. It took me by surprise, and for a second, I thought I may have squeezed out a small log. Basically a 4-second heart attack. It was pretty surprising considering I was by myself. I'm a 53/M and way back in the 80s had a GF who tried to stick her finger in my bunghole while performing other duties. Ended up cutting my hole with her fingernail. Swelled up like a golf ball. Hurt like hell. I was terrified to go to the doctor and try to explain it. Intense pain for a couple weeks, but slowly disappeared. Initially it was kinda fun and kinky until the pain and blood happened. Looking back, I would absolutely let someone do it again, but make sure there were no sharp edges. I've got the hairiest back I've ever seen, and when I felt the initial contact I thought she's going to get caught in a knot if she's not careful, but after that it was great. 10/10ths would recommend to friends and family. Please don't be a penis. Please don't be a penis. Before I met my current partner, I was with a buddy. We were having sex in the doggy style position when he slipped his thumb inside my ass. It felt weird at first, but it intensified the sex we were having. And since it was so unexpected, my thoughts were just that there was a finger up my butt and what the f. But it felt good, so whatever. Never did anything with my before, so it definitely made me consider. Honestly caused a ton of drama with the guy I was dating. It wasn't unexpected per se. I sort of brought it up spontaneously during sex one time, and she was into trying it. Turns out she really liked it. I really liked it. Then I thought about how I didn't prepare for any type of play. My initial reaction was to pull away, but the dude I was hooking up with had me by the back of my neck from behind, so I couldn't. It got good. Is that a pinky in my ass? Yes, that's definitely a pinky. Why is this happening? I just met him today. Oh good, he's taking the pinky out. Why is my hole wet? Oh god, stop licking my anus. So it wasn't a finger, but I hope it's close enough. Met up with a girl from Tinder at a bar. Conversation is going well, and we are both attracted to each other. Eventually it turns towards sex. I think we are both pretty forward about that thing, and she asks what I'm into. I responded that I'm open for pretty much anything. I should not have said that, because I think she took it as an open invitation. I'm laying on the bed at her place, naked as I wanted her to be, while she's blowing me. I suddenly feel a lot of pressure, and a bit of cold around my asshole. I immediately shoved her off of me, and stood up with my legs wide and just slowly shit this thing out, like it was a good shit without having to push, except taking a shit like that is enjoyable. She kept trying to talk to me in a sort of panicked tone, and I looked down at the dildo, made for men covered in shit like a bad paint job. I called an Uber, and left with my things. I had a bag that I had brought there, and she put it in that bag. I was house/dog sitting for a coworker at the time. I accidentally left that bag there when he got back. I was a submariner. My entire boat found out about it. I still get mentions of that from friends, even though I'm out now. I just thought he's gonna get a surprise when he pulls that out. Sure enough, his finger was coated with nice brown goop. He asks me now. Only time I ever yelled at her. 1 minute we are going at it. Nothing fancy, but it was some particularly good missionary. She's scratching my back up, which I love, and grabbing my which I kinda like, and then bam. I'm being digitally sodomized without warning or lube or anything. How much it f***ing hurt. He did it without lube. I walked out of his place a few minutes after that. He actually didn't have toilet paper either. My exact thoughts, considering my so at the time, had asked if I would be into that, and I said nope. No. And then the brakes were put on. A conversation about consent was had. Moral of the story, consent matters for men too. Involuntary jerk reaction, followed by a please don't do that again. It's an exit only situation for me. My facial expression / surprise led to a lot of laughter. All jokes aside, at first I was shocked. Drunk, but shocked. Now, it's cool if my wife does it. It was weird, because it felt wrong. But it's a normal thing, and the dude's G-spot is the prostate. Don't knock it till you try it. I wasn't happy. She didn't warn me or anything. No teasing, nothing. Just slammed her thumb into my eye. It hurt. A lot. I went limp instantly. There was blood. Killed the mood for the remainder of the night and next couple of days. I wasn't expecting it at first, she just popped it up there, but when she did I came instantly. One of the best sexual encounters I've had. Mine was not during sex and without consent. Psycho girl just fingers me in the, but after meeting, and initial friendship hug. It's made me go sit on a hill watching a sunset, contemplating why. I was having sex with a girl and she reached to put her finger up my. I immediately jumped, and my voice got about 2 pitches higher. After I asked her not to, she kept digging in for it, just laughing, when in reality I was terrified. After physically restraining her and much pleading, it stopped. I was 18 at the time, but it's pretty fantastic the second time it happened. It was 20 years ago. I was 19ish and had driven down to Peoria to hang out with a girl I met. She was blowing me in her living room. It was great. One of the best. Then I got the sneak finger. All of a sudden I sound like a horse getting stabbed to death and I think I blew a hole in the back of her throat. 10/10 would recommend. I don't recommend what happened next. Her mom came into the room and told us to keep it down because she was sleeping and saw her daughter with the finger in my trying to play my like a finger puppet in her mouth. Still would do again. Was getting my regular amazing BJ from my GF. Decides to surprise me. I gently stopped her, thanked her profusely and said, if you're doing that for me, please don't. It doesn't do anything for me. If that's something you need or want, go right ahead, I'll let you. And if you want me to do that for you, I will, but again, you don't have to for me. She continued to be my best sexual partner ever, and my hole was not breached again. Bit of backstory first. Signed up to Tinder because I'd been recently dumped by a long-term girlfriend and thought it might be a good way to get over her. Side note, it's not. I start chatting with this girl and she seemed nice enough, so after a few days we decide to meet up on a night out. The night went alright, but not quite as well as I'd expected it to go, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll walk her home to make sure she gets there safely, but that's all. Of course, when we arrive she tells me to come in, and I follow, because I never learned how to say no to people. We go to her room, and it starts to get heavy, but during foreplay she shouts out the wrong name. I go, sorry, what? She goes, wait, what? And then immediately falls down the side of the bed and gets stuck. Who said slapstick was dead? After I help her out and she apologized, we get back to it. I feel her hands on my arm. And that's normal. They get a little closer to the hole, and I start to get a little suspicious. Then a finger pokes in, and my whole body goes stiff as a board, and I let out a little squeal and pull away. There was no mention of either of us wanting this beforehand. She just tried to stick her finger in there completely without warning, but I assume my reaction made it pretty clear I was definitely not behind the idea, if you'll pardon the pun. We go back to 6. And her hands come back for anal fingering too. Electric boogaloo, at which point I grab her wrist, yank it away, and without breaking eye contact, tell her, please, do not put your finger in my ass again. Probably not the sexiest moment for either of us, but we finished up and I scarpered. My straight friend once told me about this time he was curious and stuck his finger up his butt in the shower. He said it hurt and has no idea how gay people do it. After a good laugh from everybody in the car, only slightly at his expense, I explained that usually you relax and prep yourself a little and use a lot of lube, and that the prostate stimulation is usually where it comes from. Never a finger, but one time, no, not at band camp, this chick went from my penis to my ball and licked it. Now listen, I was never a fancy guy that shaved my balls, let alone my. I also constantly had angel bearers during this time. I was about 22 years old, many moons ago. So yeah, F all that jazz. A few years after that I dated this super hot chick during my drug and criminal days. Seriously, her man was in prison at the time and she would tell me how she asks him. Wow. She would tell me she would get in my ass and I would like it. After a few romps in the sack, without my ass, she got bored and stopped seeing me. I swear all of the above is true. This comment will probably never even be read here. I don't like this. I opened up some real shit here. Now what? For the inevitable guys reading here that are in some way opposed to the finger, let's forget the prostate temporarily. There are 2 stimulus points for a guy. The prostate is the least. The sphincter in erectile tissue is loaded with nerve endings. During orgasm, the sphincter expands and contracts at breakneck speed. Anything pushing in against the rectal tissue, that is the finger referenced all over this thread, will light up those nerves and create what can only be described as an anal orgasm point. This is equal to or greater than the penile orgasm. You absolutely will not ever feel this during a normal orgasm. You need that contact with the rectal tissue. Think of it like a wall electrical outlet. You can flip that switch up and down and it will do its job. But put the plug in there and flip the same switch and the magic happens. So lubricate your finger, put it in up to the first joint of the finger, and feel into the tissue wall. During the onset of orgasm, you will almost involuntarily feel compelled to push your finger into the tissue more, creating this posterior tissue orgasm. Essentially, this is why every guy loves taking a not a finger, but I've gotten a surprise in the during sex without lube. I was quite drunk on tequila, so I was physically relaxed enough for it to slide in easily. It took me a minute to realize what was happening, but it unexpectedly felt incredible. He was big, so the feeling was a little overwhelming, but also felt good. Once he came, that lubed things up for 2 more rounds. Definitely my most intense sexual experience. It really pushed me to my limits. My only previous experience with anal also was without lube and was incredibly painful. I was tense because he was enormous and the sex was already uncomfortable. I thought he wanted to fuck me doggy style, but he went for the ass instead. He tried to force himself in and eventually stopped because it literally wouldn't fit. He just fucked me from behind instead, and I ended up bleeding afterwards. I was too intimidated to ask him to stop. Moral of the story: if you're going to put anything up someone's ass, or anywhere else for that matter, please ask them and take appropriate precautions. Go slow, check in, and use lots of lube. Even in a dom/sub situation or consensual non-consent, these limits should be agreed upon in advance.